Hello again. There's a question that keeps coming back all the time, which is what's all this about dimensions? How do they work? How do we connect to them? What do they do for us? What is it? And so I decided to make this video. Nikola Tesla, he used to say that if you want to understand the universe, you need to think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequencies. Energy is quite a common word. There's no need to explain it. Vibration, most often people think in terms of good vibes and bad vibes. I like this song, it gives me good vibes. I like this place, it gives me good vibes. A vibration is actually something very, very simple, which is a wave. It goes up and it goes down, and then it comes back to the same level where the whole thing started. And then you have the frequency, which is how frequently does it go up and down and back again. So, and you measure that in hertz. So if you do this, that's 1 second. So that's a frequency of 1 hertz, as simple as that. If you start at 20 hertz, which means 20 ups and downs per second, and you go all the way up until 20,000 hertz, you're going to perceive this vibration frequency as sound through your ears. And so if it's very low, like let's say, for example, 50 hertz, it's going to sound like a humming. And if it goes all the way up to a different pitch, then it's going to be, let's say, for example, at 18,000. It could sound, for example, like the vibration of a Tibetan bowl. After those 20,000 hertz, you might still have vibration frequencies around you or inside of you, which is normal, but you will not be able to listen to them because it's above the limit that your ear can perceive as sound. After a while, where you don't hear anything, that vibration frequency is going to reach a certain frequency where you start seeing it in your eyes. So it's going to be colors, it's going to be shapes, it's going to be movement, but you can perceive it with your eyes. And so you start with the lowest frequency possible that your eyes can perceive a vibration frequency, and that's going to be the color red. Then it goes to orange, and then to yellow, and so on, until it reaches the purples, and after the purples, nothing else. You still have vibration frequencies, which is called, for example, the ultraviolet. You can detect it with a machine, but not with your eyes anymore. And so your 5 physical senses will allow you to perceive vibration frequencies with certain intervals. You can perceive, you cannot. You can perceive, you cannot. Once you have all those 5 physical senses, once you have all the possible vibration frequencies that you can perceive with your physical senses, then what you have is called a macro range of frequencies, and that's going to be the 3D, the third dimension. So the third dimension is basically all the possible combinations of vibration frequencies that you can physically perceive with your physical senses. And this is going to allow you to connect to something called the 3D bubble. It's your world around you. You look over here and you see a car. You look over there and you see a building. You look up, you see the sky. Well, all those things are outside of you, and you can perceive them through a combination of vibration frequencies, which means through a combination of your physical senses. Maybe you can see a fantastic dish, but at the same time, you can also smell it and you go, fantastic. I bet that tastes good. And when you taste it, there you go. It's your third physical sense, which means a different range of vibration frequencies. So 3D, the third dimension, is anything that you can perceive outside of you. So what is it that you can perceive inside of you? You're at work, and your partner calls you and says, "Where the hell did you leave the car keys?" And hold on, honey, let me think. And you seem to be looking over there, but you're not looking over there because you're actually looking inside into your inner world. And you go to something called your memory, and you say, so I finished my breakfast, I grabbed the milk, put it on the door. When I closed it, I forgot the keys on top of the fridge. Honey, I know where they are. Expect problems later when you go home. Not my problem. I'll go on with my thing. So when you go inside into your inner world, you're capable of visiting a different place. And in this case, you were visiting a different place at a time that had already been there for you. So you went back through your memory into your past. But you can also go into the future because the time of the future has not happened yet. Then you don't call that a memory. You call that an imagination. So you need to imagine what is going to happen in the future because it hasn't manifested yet. This capacity that you have to travel a long time, when you go inside, because your body cannot go with you when you go back or forward in time, when you go into your inner world, the frequencies are extremely higher, and it's called 4D, the fourth dimension, or as the scientists are already calling it, quantum time. This is a very important new dimension because it could be the beginning of your healing. And both psychologists and shamans, they have been using quantum time as a healing method, the visits to other moments in your life, future or past. Through those visits along 4D, they have been using this for decades already. So let's give you an example of a hypnotherapist. You're going to a hypnotherapist and you say, I don't understand because all the time I am with my partner, I'm afraid my partner will abandon me. And I'm afraid the boss will betray me and he'll go and it just keeps repeating itself all the time. And the hypnotherapist, I was going to say the psychologist, the hypnotherapist is going to sit you on a very nice couch. You're going to relax your body because you will not be using it in what you're going to do. And he's going to tell you, go back in time, close your eyes, take a deep breath, go back in time, and go find your inner child. And you go to your memory and you go talk to your inner child. And the hypnotherapist tells you, ask your inner child, why are these things happening? And the inner child is going to tell you, because my father abandoned me. And as a grown-up, as an adult, you now know that father had to go away for a long time because he went to the army. He was not abandoning anyone. He was just trying to keep us safe. And you share all this with your inner child. And your inner child, after a while, is going to digest this, and it's going to stop sending across time ripples of abandonment and of suffering. These are the ripples that reach you through quantum time as an adult, and that's why you feel the way you feel. So after a while, the last ripple that the child was sending will reach you, and there's no more after that, and then you will be healed. It could take a few days because basically your inner child, even though it's not physically here, in the same way that you did not go physically back to talk to your inner child, you had to leave your body in here. So after a while, you're going to feel different from the inside. Your inner world has now changed. And the reason that the scientists are calling this 4D, or quantum time, is because quantum time, the characteristic is that all moments in time are connected. This is called an entanglement. I'm not going into the science, but it is science. And in fact, it is, even though scientists don't fully understand how this happened, they still understand that it does happen. There are laws, and they have actually managed to build something called a quantum computer. We're not going into that. You can Google it if you wish. But still, quantum time, 4D, this new macro range of frequencies, which can only happen in your inner world, but not in your outer world. You cannot perceive it through your physical senses. You need to become aware of it, which is a whole different thing. You still You can still say, yes, I know, I've seen it, I interacted with it. Yes, but not physically. Because whatever happens physically has to happen at a lower macro range of frequencies, which will not destroy matter. It will not impact the manifestation into physical. So you have 3D, very low vibrations, everything which is around you. Then you have the beginning of your inner world, which is 4D, quantum type. You need to go inside of you, but without your body. 4D is going to allow you to travel around your incarnation. The inner child, you can including go to the times where you were still within the belly of your mom, because that also can create a trauma. How that happens is going to vary. But for example, maybe your mom had an accident. Maybe your mom was terrified. Like whatever feelings your mother is feeling, if you are inside the womb and you as a baby have been there for a certain number of minimum months, then yes, it can impact you. So through 4D, you can go back to there. Hypnotherapy is not the only way to do that. You have also many kinds of breathing, like, for example, rebirthing. It's a very, very strong way of breathing, and you should only try to do it when you are accompanied with professionals. But it's very strong and very efficient. So once we have this understanding of 3D and 4D, 3D, whatever is manifested, 4D, whatever is inside of you in your inner world. Now, the next step that we need to understand the way dimensions work is the fact that higher frequencies very easily impact lower frequencies. And we can look at that through the example of ice. If you look at water at room temperature, it has a very specific behavior. Even though it's a stone, it's a mineral, it's a liquid one. And so it can flow, but it's stuck to gravity. It has to flow on something, because if there's nothing to be on, it's like a waterfall. Or if you wish, you grab a bottle of water, you grab your glass, and you pour it, right? So it is still flowing, it's free falling, but once you have the glass supporting it, that's it, the water stays there. So this is a very, very fantastic behavior for a stone. But if you lower the vibration frequencies of that water, and one of the ways of lowering the frequencies is by lowering the temperature. So you're going to grab the water, you put it in the freezer, and it becomes solid. Is it flowing? No. Can you put your hand through it as you were doing with water? No. So as you can see, while the vibration frequencies are at room temperature, it has a certain freedom. Water has a certain freedom. But once you lower the frequencies, it loses that freedom, and it just stays there. Put that ice cube back into the room temperature, and what you will see is that it comes back to being liquid, to be in that state of having a certain freedom. If you go on raising the frequencies, and again, you can do that with temperature, like, for example, putting the water in your kettle. Yes, my kettle is there. So you can do that, and what happens is that the water will leave the state of being liquid, which also means leaving the state of having half freedom, half non-freedom. And now that water becomes steam, which means it doesn't need anything to light on. So it's not going to flow, it's going to glow. And it's free. It can just float freely. Can go, can come back, and you also have that in nature. So higher frequencies, higher vibration frequencies give you more freedom, and it gives you more possibilities than lower frequencies, which means if 4D has higher frequencies in your inner world and 3D has lower frequencies in your physical world around you, that means that you can do a lot more in your inner world than you can do outside. But because what you do in your inner world is higher frequencies, it's going to very easily impact the lower frequencies of 3D. And that is the basis of the law of attraction. If you go inside and you change your vibration, then your 3D world needs to change to a depth. Why? Because 3D, let's call it a bubble. Let's go to your space, the space around you, where you're free to create an impact through your own vibrations. It's your territory. So let's call it a bubble, well, like a sphere, if you wish, or an egg, whatever you want to imagine. But it's a space around you which is under the impact of your inner world. So this, as I was saying, is the principle of the law of attraction. Law of attraction, by the way, is the daughter of another law, the mother law, which is the law of vibration. This is one of the 7 principles of the Kybalion, very small little book, which I highly recommend you to read, very easy to read, but not so easy to digest. It takes a while until you see examples of all of that. So the Kybalion has that principle that all is vibration. And if all is vibration, then you're going to have different macro ranges of vibration frequencies, and you're going to have one impacting the other. High frequencies impacting lower frequencies. That's how it works. That's nature. It's not something that you can say, oh, I don't believe in gravity. I don't believe that I am actually breathing air or that. Nature doesn't really care a lot about what you believe or what you don't believe. There are things which are there, and the only option that you have is to try them or not try them. So if you say you don't believe in gravity, for example, fine, no problem. But that means there's a lot in nature that you are not connecting and you are not using to your benefit or to the benefit of the collective. So let's assume that you do understand that there is this thing called vibration. All is vibration. And because you have differences of frequencies for that vibration, higher frequencies impact lower frequencies. We were mentioning that 4D, your inner world, the beginning of your inner world, has higher frequencies than 3D. So whatever you are doing inside your inner world, you are thinking, you are feeling, you are dreaming, whatever it is that you are doing is impacting 3D. And that's how you can change your 3D bubble by changing your 4D bubble inside of you. And it's a lot easier to change your 4D bubble. I mean, the real work is to become aware of what's happening in there because it has depths. Inside the 4D bubble, you have another bubble called the 5D. I just wanted to mention clearly the 4D because everybody's talking about the awakening from 3D into 5D. Wait a minute, what happened to 4D? Did somebody steal it or anything? No, it's just that 4D is already here for many, many decades. It's being used. Like I said, shamans and the hypnotherapists and the rebirthing and a lot of people have been using 4D normally, daily, trivially. And so the main thing is to do this jump from 3D to 5D. 3D being the outside, people very often try to change the outside, not by attracting, but by chasing. When you're trying to chase something, you are at the same frequencies that the problem that you're trying to solve. Most often a lack. You want more money. You want another job. You want a new home. You want a new car. You want whatever it is. So the lack of what you want in your 3D bubble, if you try to chase it, you are functioning in your 4D bubble at the same frequencies that the 3D bubble. So it's not doing anything. And Einstein said it. I think it was Einstein. Einstein said this very clearly. The solution to a problem will always be at a higher level than the problem it tries to solve. So there you go again, you see. It's not higher because you need to go to the Mount Everest or anything like that. It's higher in frequencies. So if you raise your frequency, you can reach a solution for a problem that has lower frequencies. solve something in 4D, solve a change that you want to make in 3D. Like I said, most often it's a lack of something. By going to your inner world, get yourself a nice couch like the hypnotherapists have, and that's where you do your meditation. You go inside, you visit yourself at different times, and you change the whole thing. Most often you will change the understanding. Understanding has to do with thoughts, and the thoughts are in your inner world. The feelings are in your inner world. And in fact, the same way that you have the varying frequencies in 3D, you also have varying frequencies in 4D, in your inner world. So emotions, they have a range of emotions. The lower one, you can Google, for example, you go to Google and you say emotional vibrational chart. You will see a list of emotions in there. The lowest ones will be fear, guilt, shame, because it basically has to do with the potential of an aggression or the realistic self-aggression. Shame and guilt, they are self-aggression. Fear is when you hurt yourself about something that has not yet happened, but the emotion is still real. These are the low vibrations. You go up to the top of the chart and you're going to find love, joy, happiness, and things like that. Thoughts, you have also the same thing, but thoughts have a particularity. There is something called the lesser mind and the upper mind. The lesser mind, you could call it the ego. It has to do with your survival. That's the focus of the lesser mind. And the lesser mind is able to understand 3D world, low frequencies, nothing else but that. So when you did not take a moment to pacify your lesser mind, the ego is all the time worried about you. Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Are you safe? Are you tired? Are you this? Are you that? All the time. You go crazy with it. But it is a form of love because your ego, that's all it can do, and all the time it needs to check you again and again and again. How do you get rid of this? And this is quite useful if you wanna do meditation properly. Your mind, which includes the lesser mind, the nature of it is the element of air. And so by breathing appropriately, you can pacify the lesser mind, the ego, and then it just, because the ego gets bored very quickly. And so if you pacify the ego, it will go as again, it will fall asleep. And as it falls asleep, it leaves open the portal that leads you to the upper mind. So the upper mind is the other part of your mind which is able to deal with all the complexity that you have in your inner world. Besides the 4D, you have the 5 and 6 and 7 and so on and so on and so on. All of that, if you want to bring it back and make something out of it, which basically means manifested in your 3D bubble, if you want all that, you need to understand things that have a much, much higher vibration frequency. And so for that, you need the upper mind. Let's go back to the breathing technique. If you want to pacify your mind because it's very, very hyperactive, that's because it feels the fear inside of you, the hesitation, the aggression of something. You are at work, somebody's shouting at you, your ego will be, what's happening here? Are you safe? Are you this? Are you that? So what do? You breathe in the belly. What does that mean? Normally when we breathe with the help of the diaphragm. It's a muscle, looks almost like a skin, very thin, and it's more or less in here, separating our belly from the thorax where we have the lungs. And the lungs, they're not muscles, they're kind of like a sponge thing, full of little bags. When you breathe with the help of the diaphragm, you can only reach a certain limit. It goes down, creates a vacuum, and your lungs will expand a little bit. You breathe in very shortly, you breathe out, in, out, very quickly. This will promote fear and anxiety and other low-frequency emotions. If you want to go in your inner world to higher vibrations, you need to increase the volume of your breathing. But because you can't do that with your diaphragm, you're going to do that with the help of your belly muscles, which are much stronger. So cross your fingers, put them on your navel, and now pretend that you are a little kid, and you're going to say, look, mommy, I'm pregnant. And you're going to push your belly out. You're not trying to breathe. You're not doing anything with your lungs. You're just pushing your belly out. That's all. And the reason you put your hand is just to help you visualize how much further your belly goes. Once you're trained, once you're used to breathing in the belly, you don't need your hands for anything. You can just do it, and that's it. As your belly muscles push forward the belly, it creates a vacuum. And that vacuum will then pull even further the diaphragm, but with no diaphragm effort, because you're doing that with your belly muscles. Muscles out, diaphragm down, your lungs will be a lot fuller of air. And once you do that, the other thing that it does is that it takes your breathing, not the air, it takes your breathing into a lower chakra, the second one. When you are trained enough, you can do this and imagine that your breathing is going all the way to the root chakra. But for the moment, keep it simple. Just cross your fingers on the navel, belly out, diaphragm down, lungs full. And the way to maximize this is like this. You put your bellies out. I'm not breathing. It's just the vacuum created. I'm not doing anything with my diaphragm. So belly out, and as soon as you feel the belly out, now you give it an extra punch with your diaphragm, and you go like this. You see, the last punch was with your diaphragm, and you really, that's it. Now you're full. Leave it there for a while. I could say 4 seconds, just a while, as long as it's comfortable, and exhale. As you exhale, think, I am safe. All is well. Everything is in order in my life. And as you think this, exhale the fear, exhale the nervousness, and then go back and breathe again if you wish. If you wish, you can put another 4 seconds pause. So you would do 4 seconds in with that little bit extra. Pause 4 seconds, exhale slowly. Pause 4 seconds with no air in the lungs, and then inhale again. If this is too comfortable and it's going to mess up what you're trying to do with your lesser mind, forget it. Just breathe naturally with a natural rhythm, with a comfortable rhythm. As long as you breathe with your belly, give it the extra punch, exhale, and put out your fear, your bad feelings, whatever it is that was affecting and triggering your lesser mind. After 3, 4, 5 of these, you will feel extremely more relaxed. Now you can choose to go on breathing in the belly or breathing normally, however you want. Your ego fell asleep. As it falls asleep, it leaves the portal open. Your mind will immediately be connected to higher vibrations, higher thoughts, higher understandings, if you wish. So, 3D bubble outside, low frequencies, you perceive 3D bubble through your physical senses. You have then the next macro range, the next dimension of frequencies, which is 4D, allows you to travel along in time, to the past or to the future. So then, what you can do next is, but you will only be able to do that once you have your upper mind accessible, you can go to another bubble that you have inside of you. So you have the 3D bubble, and then inside of you, you have the 4D bubble, and inside of that, you have the 5D, inside of that, the 6D, and so on and so on and so on. The 5D bubble, if you understand that 4D brings something new, which is your capacity to travel a long time, 5D is going to bring you something absolutely fantastic, which is the capacity to connect directly with your spirit. And your spirit has, let's say, a vault, a room, a library, where it keeps the diary of all the incarnations. And so once you have that, then you can also understand that eventually what you're doing now is actually the continuation of what you were doing in a different incarnation. Does that give a new meaning or not? Well, it might sometimes confuse you, but it might also sometimes help you understand. So the main thing to remember is this: even when you go to another incarnation, you are still with your feet on the ground right here, and you are in charge of the process. The other you cannot impact you as you try to solve an issue in here. It cannot. But the only thing it can do is, through your spirit, it said, the other you is saying this in another incarnation. I don't know what to do with this. Please help me. And your spirit is going to grab that as a request for help, and it's going to create a new incarnation where you have this homework. Forget the bad karma and the punishments and the whatever. Karma does exist, but the purpose of karma is not to punish you. That you can really forget about that. There is only a source of good in the universe. There is no source of evil. There is no source of bad things. You, however, through your free will, you are able to create a resistance to all these good things that come to you through your spirit, from your inside, emanating outwards. And in the same light that you have, in the same way that you have a light in here, you put your hand, you create a shadow, right? So in the same way, if you have all this coming from you and you create a resistance, you will be creating a shadow in your life. That shadow can be a problem, it can be an accident, can be a disease, can be a sadness, can be an addiction, can be whatever it is. There is no source of evil in the universe. It does not exist. There's only a source of good. It's your free will that creates the resistances, so you can experience things which are more significant and impactful for your spirit. Okay? And there's one thing I can add in there, by the way, which is this. The more intense is your light, the darker the shadows that you will be creating. If you have a room full of tiny little candles, tea lights, it's going to be very romantic, but it's not real light. Okay? It's just like half. Okay? If you have 3 huge, strong lamps in that room, everything is going to be very clear, but the shadows will be extremely dark. And so when you see yourself with a problem, and that problem is very big, the first thing you need to understand, and here is the source of good, the first thing you need to understand is, if this is the dimension and intensity that I can create when I create a problem, then in the same dimension, that is the dimension of my light. So I can deal with this. Okay? Do not go. You remember what I was talking about, low frequencies of emotions in your inner world? You go to shame, you go to guilt, you are creating aggression to yourself. And you are the only one that can hurt yourself. No one else can, unless you allow it, or unless you attract it. So, back to dimensions, you have these 3D, you have the 4D, you have 5D, and so on and so on. By law of attraction, you now understand that the higher frequencies of your inner world, and that includes your subconscious, by the way, then all of that is going to impact your 3D bubble. It's as if you were a magnet, and 3D bubble is subject and reflecting to you, as in a mirror, all your magnetic field. So you can see something on 3D. For example, you go on the streets, you look at your 3D bubble, you see 2 people over there, they are fighting with each other. From your lesser mind, you're going to say, oh, shameful. How can these guys be fighting like this in the street? In ba-da-dee-ba-da-da. Forget it. Breathe in the belly, which your ego asleep. Say, I am safe. All is well. All is in order. No problem. Boom. Ego fell asleep. Go to your upper mind and you look at that, and the first thing you need to say is 3D is a mirror. So if two guys are fighting in my 3D bubble, they can only be there because I have conflict inside of me also. Now, say thank you to the messengers. You always want them to go away, otherwise the message goes on and on. So you take the message, now you have your homework. Go back inside and try to catch yourself. In what way am I in conflict with myself? Most often, an inner conflict is going to be something like this. I would like so much to do this, but I think it would not be good. And so there you go. What you like is one thing, what you think is another thing. My advice, go back to your heart. The mind, especially when it comes to, I think it's not going to be good for me, that's your ego worried about your survival if you get this or that. With your ego to sleep, go back to your upper mind, and now you try to understand following your guidelines from your heart. Always put your heart in charge. So, 3D bubble, something happens, take the message, now you have your homework, right? So 3D is nothing else but what you are attracting or rejecting, because if you have a lack, it's because you created a resistance. So now you have a shadow, and that shadow can be the lack of something, the lack of a good job, the lack of good people, the lack of money, the lack of whatever. It's a shadow. It's just a shadow. And you need to go take that homework inwards and say, where is it? And once you find where, you will understand why. Where is it that I put a resistance that created this lack? And at some point, with different ways, different tricks, different tools, different methodologies, you will end up understanding how and why you created that resistance. So you get something, you take the message, goodbye, thank you very much for the message, take your homework, go find the resistance. Once you find it, you're able to untie the knots, and all of a sudden, anywhere you go, everything is peaceful. Because your new bubble is going to be a bubble with a magnetic field coming from your inner magnet, with a magnetic field that requires peace between people. Whoever wants to fight is able to fight in their own bubble, but they will not be able to overlap because the vibrations, they will be clashing. You say, I want peace. They say they want violence. We all have space in the planet for that, but they will not mix, because 3D bubble is also your territory. And that means it's your programming, conscious or unconscious, but it is your territory, and it is your programming. So now you will be able to understand that there's no point in chasing things in your bubble, but there is only a point in attracting them, changing your programming of the programming of this magnet of yours. Once you change that, then the 3D bubble will be rearranged. So when you say, for example, inside, I want, you create a debt to the universe regarding you, and now the universe needs to come and deliver. So all you need to do is pay attention. You don't need to worry about it. And once you have changed the programming of your inner magnet, the universe will come, not you, the universe will come, and magically your 3D bubble will be rearranged to be a reflection of the new you inside. So there's something I used to say about this, which is don't brush the mirror. And if you wake up in the morning and you're lucky, not like me, then you still have a lot of hair, right? And your hair is completely out of place. And you go in the, only one eye open because you just woke up, and you go to the mirror and you see and say, I need to do something about this. So you grab your hairbrush and you start brushing the mirror. That won't do anything. It's ridiculous, right? You know, even when you're are still half asleep, you know that what you see in the reflection you cannot change that. If it's a reflection and you don't look good in the mirror, brush yourself. And so that's exactly what you do with 3D and your inner world, 4D, 5D, whatever you get at this point you can reach. So you see something over there, don't change it in 3D bubble. Go back in and say, how come I don't have this? How come I have that? You locate it, you change it, the universe will come because it is always at your service, whether you are thinking good things or not so good things. It's your free will. But whatever it is you changed inside, the universe will come and will rearrange your 3D bubble. You want a car, you find out why you don't have the car, you solve that, the universe owes you a car. Just look around and see which car you want, because it might come with a menu, right? Or a catalog or whatever it is. But don't waste time or energy brushing the mirror. Do not chase things in your 3D bubble. Whatever you want, you deserve it. You're worthy. And so the universe will find a way, a magical, incredible, sometimes funny way of giving you whatever it is that you want. So 3D bubble, physical, low frequencies, it's outside. You perceive through your 5 physical senses, and the sole purpose of that 3D bubble is to be a mirror, to be a reflection of your inner world. Take messages. Don't get offended by the mirror. It doesn't make sense. It's like going to a movie and start crying, or offended. I go, that guy over there, do you know what he told me? It's a movie. Nothing else. It's just a movie. It's a matrix. It's an illusion. It's a simulation. It's like a video game where the computer, in this case the universe, is showing you how your inner world is. That's all. That's all. So this is, I was going to say a short explanation, but I think we're past that. This is a way to explain more or less how dimensions vary in frequencies, how they interact, and what they do. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you have any kind of questions. And if you do, then probably we'll be doing probably I'll be doing another of these videos. We also have, check in the description, we also have the Q&A circles where you can bring your own topics or your own questions. All the instructions are in there. Thank you.